Mina Meitzar Karatia Anani Vamechavia 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 Mina Meitzar Karatia Anani Vamechavia. Boker Tov, good morning. Another cold day. Yesterday was freezing, literally, quite literally freezing. And then again, it's cold, but I don't know, we're complaining about it. But really, what are we complaining for? It's all part of the process. This week's Parsha Vayera, and I appeared, talks about God telling Moses and Aaron to go to Pharaoh and demand freedom for the Israelites. And of course, Pharaoh refuses. It's the whole part of the Pesach story that we all well know. But I want to talk about being part of the process. And so God tells Moses to remind the Jews, the children of Israel, that their suffering and redemption is part of an ongoing covenantal process. So Moses and God have little credibility among the Jews in Egypt. Of course, because, well, they are living on a wing and a prayer. They're assuming things are going to happen that are not happening, or they're being promised, and here they are still as slaves. And so Moses talks of redemption leads only to more severe or what feels like radical oppression by Pharaoh. No sooner does God assure Moses that God's might, that God's own might, will soon be demonstrated. And then we read again at the beginning of this Torah portion that God speaks to Moses. So a lot of lip service and no action, I think, is where the Israelites are kind of leery of Moses' credibility and even God at this point. Like, hasn't there been enough talk already? Like, we've gone over this how many times? What could God possibly say at this point that would be helpful rather than detrimental? How many times are you going to tell Pharaoh in different ways through Moses that we need to be free? So to be reminded of a process, to be reminded that there is no quick fix. God says to Moses, remind them. But they're in the midst of this process. It's ongoing. Remind them that this process began long ago. In ancestral history, it was Abraham and Isaac and Jacob who also had to learn about this promise. That the covenant wasn't going to just be like, hey, I said I'm doing this, and so it happens. It's not like now, parents are victims of the instant gratification that their children need. For whatever the reasons may be, I won't say who's at fault for these things. But this reminder is different. That it is all part of the process, but Abraham and Isaac and Jacob had to learn that this promise may not have even been seen by them completely fulfilled during their own lifetimes. that Israel would only find the strength to endure and to believe in the coming redemption. And God seems to be saying, if they can look back at the suffering and the moments experienced by their ancestors, they will not be so woe is me, because woe was them, and it's better now than it was. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to think of my own thoughts as I'm teaching and sharing. How often do we find ourselves in situations where we think it's so bad? Like, how could this be happening? Right? We're in the midst of the turnover of the government from one president to another. Some of us watched the inauguration, some of us didn't. Some of us have just been glued to social media to see the ridiculousness that goes on just with anything that happens in the world. And we have this woe is me attitude. Oh, I can't believe this is happening to us. As if to say it didn't happen from, the past generation and each and every one of them going back all the way to our ancestors' time. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be exactly the way we want it because things are out of our control. Now you'll say it's in our control. People didn't vote, whatever. There's always going to be I don't want to say it's two-dimensional because it's not. There's always going to be, I think this, and all the other people think maybe what I think, maybe what they think, maybe there's a combination of thoughts. This is not new. The experience that we're having, whether you like the new president or you don't, this happens every 4 or every 8 years, depending on what it is. Presidents come, and presidents go. Vice presidents come and vice presidents go. I would say the other people in the Senate or whatever, but they seem to just exist there for longer than they should. But we have to remind ourselves constantly that we are experiencing moments, and maybe they're more modern, of course, because times have changed, thank God, since Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the forefathers. But we're still in a time where we're going to live a life that's not perfect. We're going to realize that, you know what, it's all part of the process. It's something that we have to go through in order to get where we're going. And as we're going, we're going to still experience things that just don't feel right. Like, what is the process? And if we're processing it, are we processing it so that we can move towards an outcome that we want? Or maybe not at all. Maybe it's just processing and moving along is going to be the redemption that we need as individuals, because we're actually moving in a direction, forward, back, side to side. Maybe we're doing better than our ancestors did, or maybe we're not. Maybe we're thinking like, well, maybe it was better then, but it's not. Israel, the Jews, they must remember that this covenant doesn't begin with them and it doesn't end with them, just like it didn't begin with us. The things happened from before and they're going to continue to happen, and we're kind of just following suit. The exodus from Egypt did not take away all of the pain and suffering. God said, I will free you, I will deliver you, I will redeem you, I will take you, and I will bring you to a land which I swore to give Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They never saw it. That was generations prior, but it's all in the process. In every generation, each Pesach Seder, we recite these words. I will free you, I will deliver you, I will redeem you, I will take you, and I'll bring you to a land, because you must learn that as we view ourselves, we have personally experienced exodus from Egypt. That's part of the Seder. You have to see yourself as a slave. You have to see personal redemption. For we, as our ancestors before us, always tend to focus on the immediate moment which the problem and the crises exist. Sorry about that. Baby interruptions. But to be a Jew is to realize that we are part of a process that began long ago and will not end in our lifetimes. We have seen oppression, we have seen exodus, we have seen anti-Semitism, and we have seen the coming together of people to lift up the Jews. We've seen people that show up and continue to show up as Jews and non-Jews to make sure that Judaism continues. And in these moments, it feels like there's nobody to do that. In fact, it sometimes feels to me that even Jews don't want to be Jews because, you know what, it's not easy to be a Jew in these times. But we can't lose focus. Our ancestors didn't lose focus. And each generation from then that bridged to us didn't give up. Of course, there are people that give up. But we as a people don't give up. Because there may not be any immediate gratification. And that's what we love and that's what we're used to. We may be impatient when we don't see the immediate results of our efforts. But as with Moses and the Jews in Egypt, we can find consolation and meaning in the awareness that we are part of this covenant. We are part of this agreement. And when we agreed, we realized, maybe not immediately, that we are part of the process, part of inception, part of the connection to the lineage of Abraham, making that covenant with God. Okay, I'm going to go your way. You're going to show me. All of these descendants will be of you. Till this moment where here we are, the descendants. It's still not perfect. But we stand in this place because of all that came before us. And in order for us to move forward is to know that there are people that are counting on us that we don't even know yet. For we are the bridge between them, the ancestors, and them, the newest members of the tribe and the generations that we may never know. For we are part of the ongoing process. So as we continue to process all that's going on around us, all of the changes, all of the uncertainty, all of the anger, all of the sweet moments, all of it is the package that says we must process each and everything that unfolds for us because we're part of it. And no one's going to take that from us. For we are one human family, one heart of abundant love. We love you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 9:30 as we continue to connect in ways to show that we're not giving up. We're here for one another. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Or Avinu Chai. Have a great day, everyone.